Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have 4 hearings in a case with a couple where Dad claims Mom called him up last September and told him she couldn't handle the 3 children any longer, including Mom's 2 sons that Dad says he's informally adopted, and that she was burnt out and fighting with the children, so the boys decided they wanted to spend the school year with Dad, and he agreed to take them while she sought help. Mom says that this is not true, and that Dad's perception of events and what actually happened are very different. She says she actually gave him temporary guardianship while she dealt with some medical issues, and that the children were returned to her at the end of the school year. Now Dad is motioning the court to have the parenting plan changed so that he can have the boys back again for the upcoming school year, but Mom isn't interested. In fact, she's furious about this. So, will the judge entertain this motion? Let's find out.
Okay. Do I have the next number 13 on my docket? I have 223-0033-008. This is Michelle. I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Let's see if you're even online. I'm not seeing you here. Humberto Antonio.
Yeah, this is me, Your Honor.
Okay, and how do I pronounce your last name, sir?
Guajardo.
Guajardo?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me just go into your file. Do you see Michelle online, sir?
Excuse me?
Do you see Michelle online? I'm not, no one's responding to that name.
I'm sitting outside of your courtroom actually right now.
No, I mean in the Zoom.
No, I don't see her, no.
Okay.
And Your Honor, there's some things that have changed, and so as of today, she has relinquished custody of 2 of our 3 kids to me.
Mm.
And so I don't know how that affects today, or we have to get a new parenting plan.
Well, yeah, and here's my thought. I also had questions about what was actually properly served on her for today anyway. Because I don't see a proof of service on your motion for contempt on
Right.
her. Did you serve that on her?
I thought the courts were doing this. I have no idea, Your Honor. I came here 3 weeks ago and filed a contempt of court.
Right.
Because I wasn't relinquishing the children as our planned parenting. But since then, she has given up her parental rights.
Okay.
Free.
Okay. So based on your statements today, her lack of appearance coupled with the fact that I'm going to find that your contempt order to be heard today was not served on her based on what you're telling me. So it's incumbent upon you to serve her after you file it with the court. The court doesn't serve her with it.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why she's not here. So what we're going to do, and I get it, when people aren't represented by lawyers, this, the getting through the judicial system is very difficult. So what we're going to do is just strike your motion for contempt today, because it sounds like, number 1, it wasn't served, and number 2, it might be moot because of this relinquishment issue. So right. I'm going to strike the contempt on my docket today. What I'm going to recommend then is if you have a new type of motion or a new type of parenting plan you're going to request, go ahead and prepare that and refile it and note it on any Wednesday morning docket.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then, Your Honor, so I'm just at a loss of words.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We're not denying any of your requests today. It's
Oregon over in Astoria. So I've taken off work because I didn't know that we could Zoom either. At the same time, she filed our parenting and stuff when we got her divorce here in Longview, because this is where she resides now. Can I file in Astoria a parenting plan?
That would be legal advice that I can't give you. Also, she's not here, so I have to be very careful about what we talk about with this case. So all I can say today, and I'm not trying to be obstructionist, I just have to maintain my role in the judicial system. So what I can tell you today is I'm going to strike your motion. It's not a denial. It's just a, hey, it wasn't served. And circumstances may have changed and she is not here. We're striking your motion. If you want to refile, maybe seek counsel before you refile to decide if you want to file it here or in Astoria and what's the proper venue. Okay.
Right.
And like I told the last party, sometimes local legal aid clinics can provide that kind of advice free or low cost.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for logging in.
Yeah,
and if you do come back to this court, you can log in from your home or office at Zoom. You don't have to come here for it. Okay.
have a wonderful week. I don't know how to turn this off though. I don't know if they
Just go ahead and mute it and they'll take care of it when you leave.
I did mute it earlier, but it wouldn't. I hit my face on the little square button, but it doesn't do anything. I don't know. All right, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're next is Michelle Guajardo and Humberto Guajardo, cause number 223330-08. I'll ask if Michelle Guajardo's on the line.
Yes, I'm here,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right, welcome to you. And then is Mr. pardon me, Humberto Guajardo on the line.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm here too.
Okay, welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Today on Mr. Guajardo's motion for adequate cause and also his petition to modify a parenting plan. I see that service was proper, that documents were served to Ms. Guajardo on June 14th. And so that it looks like all the necessary documents that were required were served upon her. However, the time frame was on June 14th, bless you. June 14th, which is less than the allotted time under court rule. So I just want to touch base with the parties on that. I read, if I'm not mistaken, let me just pull it up again here. Bless you. So the concern I have is that I think number one, Mr. Guajardo submitted all the necessary paperwork to Ms. Guajardo. She received it. However, the timeframes were not long enough from the time of service until the time of hearing. And sometimes that's difficult because service sometimes doesn't happen quickly. Sometimes it's delayed. So I see that I've read everything that Mr. Guajardo wants, but I've not received anything what Ms. Guajardo's thoughts on the matter are. So because there's not that sufficient amount of time, my thought was here today to not go forward because that time in between service and the hearing wasn't enough, and that would allow Ms. Guajardo to file a response, and then we could have a hearing at a later date and time. So
Can I?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to note that I did file a response as of yesterday. There were a few setbacks that did cause delay. For example, I got my forms from the Cowlitz and Wahkiakum Legal Aid, and several of those were expired, so I had to redo them when I filed. And then because he does live out of state and due to the 4th of July holiday, I filed online to have him served, and that has also been a little delay just because of everything and the time frame. But I have been working on this, and I do have a response.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I appreciate the fact that you filed something. Sometimes there's a delay in processing. It just takes some time to process everything. So it hasn't hit the court file officially, not that I can see at this point, but I trust what you had indicated. So Mr. Guajardo, so what we're looking at is setting the case over for the court to consider not only your viewpoint, but also Ms. Guajardo's viewpoint, and then make a decision. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, Your Honor, I understand that, and I totally agree with that. My only objection that I have a problem with is Ms. Guajardo she knew that we had a family reunion, And after she got served, she struck out. She's been unresponsible with me calling the kids and letting me talk to the children. She made a point to that the family reunion that I was leaving on a Thursday, that we'd already verbally agreed to these things, and that it's a 6-hour drive for the family reunion. And she told me that I couldn't pick the kids up until Friday, when the family reunion had already started in the evening time. And she's been vindictive with the kids. And so I have heard very little from my children. And when I have talked to them on the phone, she hangs the phone up. And like this weekend, it's and she also knows that I'm on vacation and that I've made plans for the children to go camping with the kids. And she's only had the children 1 4th of July in the last 9 years. And normally the 4th of July is a very special holiday for me and our children and our family. And she's unresponsive to that too.
Okay.
So she's using the kids.
Yeah, so anytime that there's concerns related to what's happening with the children and parenting time and the like, we're not going to have a hearing today on
Right.
any of the issues, but if there's concerns, then certainly when Ms. Guajardo files her response, then you could file a rebuttal or a reply with any concerns that you might have. In that way, each party is able to see what the other is saying. Each party is able to reply to what the other is saying. So what I'm proposing is that we'll set the matter over to the 17th of July, which is a Wednesday at 9 a.m. to hear the motion. And that would allow that's allowing enough time for everybody to respond. So Ms. Guajardo has filed her responses. And Ms. Guajardo, did you provide copies of those documents that you filed to Mr. Guajardo?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
haven't
did, Your Honor. When I filed to have him served, I included copies of all those documents.
Okay. All right. And then Mr. Guajardo, after reviewing those, if you want to submit something in reply, you're certainly welcome to do that, and just make sure Ms.
Okay.
Guajardo gets a copy of those. So we'll be back on July 17th, 9 a.m. to review everything and make some decisions.
Okay, and Your Honor, am I able to go in person in the courtroom and do this, or is this on Zoom only?
Everybody's welcome to come in person. If you want to do it Zoom, that's fine also. No
Okay.
preference on this end.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay. Ms. Guajardo, any final questions?
Yes, I just want to say something.
Do you
Normally,
have any questions? Do you have any questions?
He is not scheduled to pick up the kids until Friday the 5th. He is asking additionally for the 4th, and
What's your question?
Should he still be able to have them even though it's not his scheduled visitation time? I mean, I am trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, so today we're not making any decisions related to any of the pleadings or requests. And so I recognize that probably puts the parties in maybe a difficult position if there's not agreement or there's disagreement on visitation. At this point, I'm not making any decisions related to the residential time.
Okay.
So we'll see everybody on the 17th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
you.
Guajardo and Humberto Guajardo, 223330. Come on up, Ms. Guajardo. You can take a seat wherever you'd like, behind one of those black microphones, please. So Michelle Guajardo is present, and I'll ask if Humberto Guajardo is present. So I'm just going to look on the Zoom participant list for somebody, and he goes by Tony also?
Yes.
So I'll look for names that are similar to either Humberto.
I'm here, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Mr. Guajardo. Oops. Mr. Guajardo, I inadvertently muted you when I was trying to move your picture up so I could see it better. So if you could unmute, please.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry for that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we are here. Let me just pull up my notes. This is on a motion brought by Mr. Guajardo for an adequate cause finding to then modify the parenting plan. So it looks like service was appropriate on June 14th. It looks like Ms. Guajardo was served with a petition, a summons, a proposed parenting plan, a motion for adequate cause, and notice for today's hearing. So, and I read the documents that Mr. Guajardo and declarations that he filed in support of his motion. And I also reviewed the current parenting plan that's in effect, the October 2022 order. I reviewed that. And I also reviewed Ms. Guajardo's input regarding her vantage point related to the situation and the temporary plan or agreement between the parties for Mr. Guajardo and it looks like Ms. Guajardo's mother to share and care for the children for the school year. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've reviewed everything that the parties have filed. And so at this point, I think I'm ready to hear each of you, your argument related to your respective positions on the motion. So any questions before we get going?
No.
Okay. Ms. Guajardo?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor, at this time.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll first hear from Mr. Guajardo and then I'll hear from Ms. Guajardo. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so a lot of things have changed since the original parenting plan that we've had. I'd get the children every other weekend, holidays. We'd normally split Christmas time. And I'd get them vacations and family functions. I have a new job now that my days off are rotating, which throws a curveball in when I'd have the kids like on every other weekend. But at the same time, Miss Guajardo last October called me up in the middle of the night saying that she no longer wanted the kids. Now, when I say kids, we have a biological son together, Donnie. And when I met Michelle before we got married, she had a son named Bradley, who was 1 year old, and Wyatt, who was also special needs. Now, I never legally adopted those two, but I am the standing father and the only father that they know. And I've showed no prejudice against them, and I am their dad. And that's how it is. And so last September, Michelle calls me in the middle of the night expressing to me that she no longer wants the kids, that she can't handle things, that she is emotionally broke down, and for me to come get them. And the next day, her mother shows up my house with the kids for them to live with me. Literally the next day. I was unprepared for it, but it was a blessing in disguise.
You'll have your chance.
Me and Michelle gave the children the option of who they wanted to live with. And
How old's Donnie? Is Donnie 7?
Donnie's 9 now.
Okay.
He was 8 at the time when he made the decision, along with Wyatt, who's 15, who's special needs. He's like, I want to live with you, Dad. The kids had many altercations with their mom, argument of some being teenage years with Wyatt, but also in the past, it had gotten physical with Michelle, with the children, to where they had visible marks. They didn't approve of her boyfriend that she has off and on. And it just wasn't a happy environment, to where there was constantly yelling, screaming, verbal abuse from their mom. So I took in Donnie and Wyatt for this school year. Michelle agreed to let me have the kids. We had a verbal agreement that she would seek some help because she was having a mental breakdown with the kids and things were too much for her. When I received the kids, Donnie was in second grade, I'm sorry. He is below average with his academics. I enrolled them in school with the help of her mom, and Donnie is above average now with the academics.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Guajardo, when I reviewed the case, did you write that down in any of your declarations?
No, I wanted to plead it with you in person, Your Honor. I didn't know how to write everything down, to be honest with you. I'm not a great writer. But I wanted to plead my case with you. I do have the schoolwork, of his academics from previous to now. And like I said, it's not just Donnie. I know I have no legal right with Bradley and Wyatt, technically. I love them as my own. And after me and Michelle got a divorce, I continued seeing the kids. Along with, I have older children that are grown up now, and we are a family. There's
Let me just make mention of this in kind of a follow-up to my question to you. So,
yes, sir.
so the kind of the due process requirements, the things that I'm thinking about under due process is that everybody has an opportunity to be heard, and also everybody has notice of what the other person's going to be saying. So when we come to this hearing today, what I've read is all the declarations and paperwork that both sides have submitted. And now you're sharing information that's outside of that, outside the scope of those declarations and what the paperwork has said. So to me, this is new information, and also it's new information to the other litigant, Ms. Guajardo. And so it puts us kind of in a tough position in that the information that you're sharing, this is the first time that she's hearing it in a formal manner, and she hasn't had an opportunity to review it in preparation for today. So it's problematic. And so I just want you to know that that's a concern and a due process issue that I have to address. So,
Okay. Well, Your Honor, I was informed last time that we talked 3 weeks ago that Michelle was going to serve me with some papers. I've never received the papers.
so meaning her information and her response.
Yes.
Right. Did you serve a copy of those documents to him?
So I did it all online through a processing service, and I had all of those documents submitted to be served to Mr. Guajardo. And I actually spoke with Mary Graybell at the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office, who is in charge of that serving service. And she said that they've attempted to serve him on numerous occasions, and he seems to be avoiding them. So, I mean, I've done everything I can to file the necessary paperwork and paid for it all myself.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I raised the issue, because, where we stand right now is that Mr. Guajardo hasn't received the information that Ms. Guajardo has submitted and that I've reviewed, and so he's at a disadvantage. And Mr. Guajardo is sharing some information here that's not included in any declarations, and so Ms. Guajardo is at a disadvantage. So the way that we can even the playing field is make sure that all parties have the documents of the other parties and know what they're saying. And if there's new information, then related to schooling and school performance and other issues that weren't included in original documents, that would need to be submitted in additional declarations. So let me just back up then a little bit on as far as service. I'll make mention of this. The law tends to be very formal, and doesn't necessarily keep up with the times. So it's more reactive than proactive. So in the past, service has always been done through either personal service, here's some documents, you're served, or through the US mail, or through publication in a newspaper. And so those are kind of the base requirements. If parties agree to service via email, in today's world, I mean, who functions without email? Most everybody uses email. And so if parties agree to receive documents from the other party via email, the parties are free to do that. And then that saves everybody a little bit of time and cost and effort from either mailing or sending them documents in the mail or serving them personally. So I'll just ask the parties if you're interested in serving each other with documents via email. Maybe I could start with Ms. Guajardo. You're the petitioning party, and then from Mr. Guajardo.
If he doesn't have a problem with it, I have no problem doing that via email.
Okay, Mr. Guajardo.
I have no problem either, Your Honor. I haven't been trying to avoid the sheriffs or anybody, but since when I'm home, I was home all last week. I'd been on vacation. And I'd planned on having a family vacation with the children, but Michelle wouldn't relinquish them to me. But I was home all week from the 4th of July, or actually the 1st of July to the 13th of July. I was home. So,
So you're okay with service via email?
absolutely, Your Honor.
And Ms. Wahardo, you're comfortable with that also? Do you have each other's respective emails?
I
No.
have,
Okay.
sorry, I have the email that he provided on the documents that were served to me. I'd just like to say, Your Honor, every single thing that he has brought up, I have no problem discussing and I can share my point of view. There is a very big difference between his perception of events and the factual stuff that actually happened. And like all the documents that I provided, like as my exhibits, that were, you know, brought in, whatever, like kind of goes over all of that. And then as far as 4th of July, it wasn't his scheduled weekend. So like
It
4th
wasn't
of
a
July
weekend.
was on a Thursday, and so that was my day. So it wasn't anything malicious.
Okay, so just so each of you are aware, I'm not going to make any decisions related to July 4th or anything that's pending with these motions, because what I said before still applies, is that both of you need to supply each other with additional information so you both know what the other is saying, so then you can reply to it. So with the agreement with service through email, the parties will be free to serve each other the documents that you file with the court. What we'll need to do is set a date, so you all know kind of what the date is that you can work towards to make sure those documents are filed and then shared with each other. And then, so let's do that now. Let's take a look at a date and the time. So we could look generally a 2-week time frame is generally in order, because what would happen is that Ms. Wahardo, you'd need to serve those documents to Mr. Wahardo via email. He would get them, and then he would have an opportunity to respond to those. And then when Mr. Wahardo responds, and if he supplies additional information such as school performance and the like, you would get all that information, and then you would be able to submit a reply declaration or reply information to what he's saying. And so you'd file that and send him a copy of your information. So 2 weeks generally allows us enough time to get all that done. So if we look at the calendar, today's the 17th, so we'd be looking at the 31st of July at 9 a.m. So I'll just ask the parties how your schedules look on that day. So Ms. Wahardo, you're the petitioner. How does that look?
That's fine with me. I'm sorry, you said July 31st?
July 31st, it's a Wednesday at 9 a.m. And Mr. Wahardo, how does that look for your schedule?
That's fine too, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so at this point, we'll move this hearing to July 31st. Ms. Wahardo, you're going to make sure that all the documents that you filed with the court, you'll send those and serve those upon Mr. Wahardo. You still, each of you, even though you're serving via email, you still need to fill out what's called a declaration or proof of service, meaning you'd have a party say, on such and such a date, I emailed these documents to the other party, and list all the documents that you sent to them. And then that has to be filed with the court.
Your Honor, I have a question for you. So with my information of the school, the academics of Donnie and Wyatt, even though Wyatt is not biologically mine and legally, I guess I have no right to him, even though I am his acting father and his only father, along with Bradley. Can I include his academics also in with this? Or is it just solely Donnie, since I'm legally for Donnie? Because I'm looking out for all the boys.
It's the latter. This action applies only to Donnie.
To Donnie, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had a question, Ms. Wahardo?
Not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to address the reason that Donnie was behind in his academics was because of COVID.
So it's kind of beyond the scope because that you'll be talking about that information in your declarations.
I just wanted to make sure like it was planned out with his school counselor and everything. I didn't just keep him behind for no reason. So thank you.
All right. So any questions as we move forward and prepare for the next hearing on the 31st?
Yes, Your Honor. So for me to add this more information, do I need to go to the courthouse then and file it? Or what's the proper things that I need to do, please?
Yeah, so with any declaration or information that you want to share, you'd write it up and sign it under the penalty of perjury. And that document or documents and any exhibits that you want to attach to them, we would file that with the court. So that's done physically with a paper copy that you give to the clerk. Then that's scanned into my system through the clerk's office, so I have access to it. And
Okay.
then you would send a copy of that same, all the documents that you provided to the court, you'd send those to Ms. Guajardo. And then thereafter, after you've sent it, then you'd submit a declaration of service saying on such and such a date, these documents were sent via email to Ms. Guajardo. And then that's filed with the court, the declaration of service.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And then Ms. Guajardo, any final questions?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So we'll see everybody on July 31st, Wednesday, 9 o'clock, and we'll make some decisions on the motion.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Sorry, just a moment. So when we come back on July 31st, would I be coming back to this courtroom? Like, it will be in the same place?
Generally, it's in this courtroom. It could be in a different courtroom, so you'd have to look at the schedule for that particular day. You also have the option of appearing via Zoom, and Mr. Guajardo has the option of appearing in person or via Zoom. So all parties can, whatever means is easiest for you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Guardo, Michelle and Humberto, 22-3-330. I've got that correct. Am I saying that right? Okay. And let's see, Humberto is present. So this is on for an adequate cause hearing today. And I did, let's see here, it looks like I had just a minute here. I think there was something just filed on this. Did you receive her response, sir?
Your Honor, I received an email like a week and a half ago. And then recently I received another email from her.
Did you serve a copy of your written response to him?
Yes, Your Honor. I had attempted to have him serve prior to that, and the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office was unsuccessful in their attempts to serve him, and I guess he even went as far as putting up no trespassing signs around his property so that they were unable to serve him. And I did submit the documents that I had of emails with the Sheriff's Department regarding his uncooperation in this case that he filed.
Your Honor, those no trespassing signs were there when I moved into the house. And
Okay, well,
the sheriff's,
hold on, both.
the
of you.
sheriff's-
Hold
oh,
on,
sorry.
sir. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So you filed a petition to modify the parenting plan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so before that can proceed forward, I have to make a decision about whether there's a legal basis under state law to do that. And so when I read through this, it sounds like your child was with you by agreement for a period of time while you had some medical issues going.
School year, the whole school year of last year, Your Honor, along
Okay.
with our other son. This is the catchy part here.
Okay,
Is Miss Guajardo called me in the middle of the night one night last year and said that she no longer wanted the kids. They were
That's a exaggeration.
okay, ma'am,
literally-
one at a time, please.
literally the next day. Her mother showed up at my house with the children. And her mother volunteered to help me because of my job schedule to work and live with me. And Michelle wrote a letter giving me and her mother both temporary guardianship with the kids. Now, there's Donnie, which is our son that we share biologically together. And then there's Bradley and Wyatt. When I'd met Michelle, she had 2 other children. Bradley was 1, Wyatt was 3, Wyatt's special needs. And the boys, their biological fathers are non-existent in their lives. And I've taken up the ownership of being their dad, and I am their dad. And I don't see anything, I don't treat them any different. And so it's been that way for years. And
Okay. So let me clarify something.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna hear, give me just a second, okay. There was a temporary guardianship agreement that you got,
Yes, Your Honor.
and did you file that in here? I didn't.
That's, I have the original copy. I think Michelle filed it. Did
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
she? So
Okay.
you guys should have it. I have the
It was
original.
meant to be temporary.
I have the original paperwork in here. And since I've had,
Okay, well, let me stop you for a
Okay.
second, okay? I read all the paperwork that's filed. You haven't received, it sounds, or maybe you did, an email with her response?
the email is her response, and I talked to the court ladies here in the office.
Mhm.
And they said for the response is to do a PDF response back to the paper or to the things here, because my job since then has switched and my schedule is different than my previous job that I had for 20 years.
Okay, well, let me stop you a second, because I don't think I see that.
No, you don't see that because I don't know how to file these things, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's no excuse.
Okay,
Honestly,
well,
like,
okay, both of you stop, okay? Until I ask you a question, I don't want to hear a word out of you. And I, one at a time talks. Nobody interrupts anybody, okay? So there was a written agreement that the kids were going to come live with you for a period of time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then does it say what happens when that period of time ends?
The end of the period of the time that they finished the school year with me,
Mhm.
and they did. And then Michelle wanted the kids back.
And that's what the document said,
Um,
because I don't,
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And Your Honor, in that time frame, and I took in our son Donnie and then also Wyatt, who's special needs. And they did sports. Donnie did, I know that.
Okay, well, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. You have an agreement, the kids are going to come live with you for the school year and then go back to her.
Yes,
So that's not a legal basis for a change in the parenting plan. There's a standard that says if kids come and live with you for 6 months by agreement, for 6 months, that's a lengthy period of time, and there's no plan to have them come back, then you can come in and say, okay, that's grounds to do it. But this is a specific agreement that you all did, to have them go live with you while she took care of some issues and then with a plan to come back to her. That's not a basis to change the parenting plan on an adequate cause basis.
okay.
So,
The basis of changing the parenting plan now is, Your Honor, is my son, Donnie, he's 9 years old. He does not want to live with his mother.
that's a lie.
okay,
Um,
ma'am,
And he's,
okay, hold on.
okay.
Okay. The fact that alone is not a grounds for a change in your parenting plan. There's got to be a threshold showing in your paperwork for me to allow this to move forward. I don't see that here.
Okay, so I have his school, and like I said, Your Honor, I don't know how to file this. I've
Okay.
reached out, I have his schoolwork, I have his stuff where he has excelled when he was in school.
Mhm.
And with his mother, he was below average, except for everything with his math on the testing that they did him. He has, now that he's gone to school for a year with me, his schooling, he's above average in his grade, in his reading. He has a speech impediment. His speaking has gotten better. And at the same time, the children have expressed to me numerous times that their mom is verbally abusive. Now, it's
Okay,
hard
well,
to,
let me stop you
Okay,
a second.
okay.
What I'm not inclined to sign an order of adequate cause based on what I have in the court file. Okay, I'm going to suggest you both get some legal advice. You had a temporary agreement that the kids were going to come live with you, and then they were going to go back to her under your existing parenting plan.
Correct.
That's what needs to happen at this point. Because you had a real specific agreement that says they're going to go live with you for this period of time because there was a medical issue, and they're going to go back. That doesn't all of a sudden blossom into grounds for a change of primary custody.
Medical issue, and my understanding that with Michelle, she never went and seek the help that she was supposed to get.
That's not the issue, sir. Okay, I'm not going to grant adequate cause today, so you're back under your existing parenting plan. I suggest you get some legal advice. I can't give legal advice because I'm not allowed to do that to either of you. Yes, ma'am.
Honestly, Your Honor, like I can admit, like I'm not always the warmest person in the world, but between over 10 years of dealing with this, one of us has had to step up and be the responsible person in our parenting regarding the children. Now, our parenting agreement has worked up fine up until this point when I did have medical issues. And then in my documents that I did file, it shows that I went to my doctor appointments, like I got my dental surgery done. I did everything I needed to do. The fact is, he unexpectedly filed this against me. So between the start date, which was January 14th, and then today, I have still held all of my work responsibilities. I go to college, I'm in my bachelor's program, and I have had full parental guardianship over the children and all their appointments, and I've managed to do all of my paperwork. Like, what's your excuse? Like,
Okay, well,
I still
ma'am,
have
ma'am,
time to
ma'am.
get it done.
Let me stop you. Okay.
I'm just sick of this. He's
Okay.
making excuses.
Well, there's not a grounds for me to issue an adequate cause order. So your existing parenting plan that you had prior to the kids going, that's what's in effect. One of the things that needs to be modified, again, I'm going to suggest each of you get some legal advice before you come back in, because you spend a lot of emotional energy and it's not moving forward. So your existing parenting plan, which was the one that was entered back on October of 2022, that's what's in effect. Unless you agree to something different.
So that's it for now. We don't need to go forward. Like, I don't need to worry about any of this after this. Like, we don't need to come back.
Not unless something else is filed.
Okay, I'm just worried he's gonna magically come up with something else because I've taken time out of my life, out of my day, like
Okay,
to do
ma'am.
everything the right way.
Hold
And
on a second. Okay, I'm denying the motion today. So unless something new is filed, which he can do, if he's got a basis for it, then you would have to respond to that. But as of today, I'm denying the adequate cause, so nothing's going to move forward.
okay,
Okay?
thank
Second
you.
here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Again, I would suggest both of you get some legal consultation. That would be probably a very good plan.
Oh, I did. In my documents, I've already consulted with Carly, Liz, and I already filed the petition with against his motion, so I didn't know like what else there would be to consult on my end, but he might need, so thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon.